The cargo truck sat helplessly, its wheels buried deep in thick, stubborn mud. Every attempt to move only dragged it further down, as if the earth refused to let go. Just when things seemed hopeless, another vehicle approached from nearby. Without hesitation, the driver stepped in to help, securing a heavy chain between them. Slowly, carefully, they began to pull.
Queremos que aguante. Vámonos pues.
It wasn't just strength that freed the truck. It was precision. Both drivers moved in perfect sync, communicating through subtle timing. Neither rushed ahead. Together they maintained balance and control, and inch by inch, the trapped truck was finally pulled back onto solid ground. The bus crept forward like a cautious animal, its tires hugging the narrow strip of road carved into the mountainside. To the right, a sheer cliff plunged into a dizzying void, where mist swallowed the valley below. Inside, passengers sat frozen, breaths shallow, eyes fixed ahead. The driver's hands moved with quiet precision, guiding the wheel through every sharp bend. A sudden rock on the path drew a gasp, but in one swift motion, he adjusted, brake, turn, steady. The bus responded like a loyal companion. Each second stretched tight with tension, yet control never slipped. In that fragile space between danger and safety, skill and coordination became everything, proving that in hazardous moments, mastery is not just admirable, it is essential. Have you ever seen a truck carrying logs having to cross a wooden bridge? I once did, on a quiet afternoon deep in the countryside. The air was still, as if even the wind was holding its breath. The truck rumbled slowly forward, its heavy load creaking with every inch. Beneath it, the wooden bridge groaned, old planks bending, nails protesting, beams worn thin by time and weather. The driver leaned out of the window, eyes fixed ahead, measuring every movement. There was no turning back. Each second stretched painfully long as the truck inched forward, the sound of cracking wood echoing in the silence. One wrong move, one weak board, and everything could collapse. Yet somehow, with patience and careful control, the truck reached the other side. Only then did the tension break, leaving behind nothing but relief and the faint memory of danger. The passenger bus groaned as it sat trapped in thick, sucking mud, its tires half buried and refusing to budge. The driver pushed the engine to full power, the roar echoing across the empty road. But the wheels only spun uselessly at first, as if the earth itself refused to let go. Slowly, almost reluctantly, the tires began to grip, clawing for traction. The bus shuddered, inching forward bit by bit. Every meter felt like a battle. The strain so intense that the front of the bus lifted slightly into the air before slamming back down. Inside, passengers held their breath. It was a tense, exhausting struggle. A dangerous journey where even the smallest progress came at a heavy cost. The engine hummed low as the car inched forward, its sides nearly brushing against the rough wooden beams that framed the narrow passage. Every movement had to be precise. The driver tightened their grip on the wheel, eyes flicking between the mirrors and the shrinking space ahead. One wrong turn, one moment of hesitation, and the car could be stuck, or worse, damaged.
Adriano, tá saindo pouquinho mais.
Outside, a coworker stood ready, signaling carefully with quick, deliberate gestures. A little left, now straighten. Slow down, they urged, their voice steady despite the tension. The air felt thick with anticipation.
O pneu de carro vai entrar só meio pneu aqui, Adriano, ó.
The car crept forward again, barely clearing the obstacle. Seconds stretched into what felt like minutes. Finally, with one last careful adjustment, it slipped through.
Isso. Já passou.
Relief washed over both of them. In that moment, it was clear. Skill, trust, and swift coordination weren't just helpful. They were essential in a dangerous environment where every decision mattered. Outside, a coworker stood ready, signaling carefully with quick, deliberate gestures. A little left, now straighten. Slow down, they urged, their voice steady despite the tension. The air felt thick with anticipation.
Agora o couro vai comer, menino. Acelera com os dois pés aí, negão.
The car crept forward again, barely clearing the obstacle. Seconds stretched into what felt like minutes. Finally, with one last careful adjustment, it slipped through. Relief washed over both of them. In that moment, it was clear. Skill, trust, and swift coordination weren't just helpful. They were essential in a dangerous environment where every decision mattered. The logging road had turned into a trap overnight. What was once firm ground had softened into thick, gripping mud, and by dawn, a heavy truck loaded with logs sat helplessly, its wheels buried deep. The driver tried everything: gentle acceleration, reversing, even rocking the truck. But nothing worked. The vehicle only sank further, as if the earth refused to let it go. Just as frustration began to set in, another truck appeared down the road. It slowed, assessed the situation, and pulled into position ahead. Without hesitation, the second driver stepped out, chain in hand. There was no rush, only quiet focus. The two exchanged a few words, gestures, and nods. No elaborate plan, just mutual understanding. The chain was secured. Engines rumbled to life. Slowly, carefully, they began. The pulling truck moved forward with steady force, while the stuck driver responded in perfect rhythm. Just enough throttle, no sudden jerks. Back and forth, inch by inch, they worked together. It wasn't brute strength that freed the truck, but timing, patience, and trust. Then, almost suddenly, the logs shifted, the wheels caught, and the truck broke free. 2 drivers, 1 effort. Perfect coordination. The vehicle sank deeper with every passing minute, its wheels swallowed by thick, unforgiving mud. What had started as a simple drive quickly turned into a frustrating struggle. The engine roared. The tires spun wildly, but the vehicle refused to budge. It was stuck, completely trapped in the heavy, sticky ground. Moving it seemed almost impossible. Just when hope began to fade, help arrived in the distance. The low rumble of an excavator broke the silence, followed by the steady approach of a bus from nearby. Together they formed an unlikely rescue team. The operators worked quickly but carefully, securing a strong chain to the stranded vehicle. With slow, deliberate effort, the excavator pulled while the bus provided additional support. The chain tightened, the mud resisted, and for a moment it seemed like nothing would change. Then, inch by inch, the vehicle began to move. The suction of the mud loosened its grip, and gradually, the trapped vehicle was freed. What once felt impossible became a remarkable rescue. A moment of teamwork and determination you truly wouldn't want to miss. The bus inched forward, its tires hugging the narrow strip of road carved into the mountainside. To the right, a sheer cliff plunged into the valley below, hidden beneath drifting clouds. Inside, passengers sat in uneasy silence, their breaths held with every careful turn. The driver's hands moved steadily, adjusting the wheel with practiced precision, eyes fixed on the winding path ahead. A sudden bend appeared, tighter than expected. The driver reacted instantly, coordinating brake and steering in one fluid motion. The bus swayed slightly, then straightened, continuing its cautious climb.
Atrás.
In that moment, the fragile line between safety and disaster felt razor thin. Yet it was skill, focus, and quick coordination that carried them forward, proving how vital these qualities are in the most dangerous environments. The bus carefully made its way along the narrow mountain road, its tires hugging the edge where the cliff dropped sharply into darkness. Inside, passengers sat in uneasy silence, some gripping their seats, others staring out at the endless abyss below. The driver moved with steady focus, guiding the vehicle through each tight curve as the wind howled against its sides. For a moment, everything seemed under control, until it wasn't. A sudden slip, a sharp turn taken just a fraction too wide, and the bus lurched violently. Gasps turned into screams as control was lost. Time seemed to freeze as the vehicle tilted, balanced on the brink for a heartbeat. Then gravity took over. The bus plunged into the abyss, disappearing into the vast emptiness below, leaving only silence behind. The rain had stopped, but the mountains still trembled. Maria tightened her grip on the edge of the truck as it idled before a wall of mud and fallen rocks. This was the road to Noryungas, the only road, and it had disappeared overnight. Around her, passengers climbed down in silence, their eyes scanning the steep cliffs above, where loose stones still shifted. No company was coming, no machines, no warning signs, just them. Careful, someone whispered as a man stepped forward with a shovel. Others followed, forming a quiet line of strangers bound by necessity. Maria hesitated, then joined them, her shoes sinking into the wet earth. Every sound, a crack, a rumble, made her heart race. They worked quickly, knowing time was not their ally. A driver shouted directions, his voice steady but urgent. Above them, the mountain loomed, unpredictable and alive. A small landslide tumbled nearby, sending dust into the air. Everyone froze. For a moment, fear held them still. Then, just as quietly, they returned to work. Hours passed before a narrow path emerged. The truck could pass now, barely. As Maria climbed back aboard, she glanced at the road behind them. It was fragile, temporary. But for now, it was enough to keep moving.